I'm staring at a grocery bill that's making my stomach drop, $943 for 1 month, and I'm wondering how I got here. The worst part is, I know I'm not alone. Millions of people are struggling to make ends meet, and groceries are one of the biggest expenses we all face. So, how did I get my groceries down to $300 a month without couponing? It started with a harsh realization: I was wasting over $500 a month on food that was going bad or getting thrown away. Let me walk you through my journey. I made $67,400 a year, but after taxes, my take-home pay was around $4,300 a month. Out of that, I was spending over 22% of my income on groceries alone. That's when I knew I had to make a change. The first step was to track every single item I bought for a month. I used a simple notebook to write down everything, from milk to bread to chicken. At the end of the month, I added it all up and was shocked to see that I was spending over $150 a week on meat alone. That's when I realized I needed to make some drastic changes. The turning point came when I discovered the power of meal planning. I started planning out my meals for the week, making a list of the ingredients I needed, and sticking to it. I also began shopping at discount stores and using cashback apps to earn money back on my purchases. One of the most surprising things I learned was that buying in bulk didn't always mean saving money. In fact, I was often wasting more food because I was buying too much of it. So, I started buying smaller quantities and shopping more frequently. It was a game changer. Now, let's talk about the system I used to get my groceries down to $300 a month. It's called the 50/30/20 rule. 50% of my income goes towards necessities like rent and utilities, 30% towards discretionary spending, and 20% towards saving and debt repayment. When it comes to groceries, I allocate 10% of my income, which is around $430 a month. But here's the thing: I don't always spend that much. By meal planning, shopping smart, and using cashback apps, I'm able to save around $130 a month. That's $1,560 a year that I can put towards my debt or save for the future. The proof is in the numbers. Over the course of 6 months, I was able to reduce my grocery bill by over 60%. That's a savings of $5,400 a year. And the best part is, I didn't have to sacrifice my health or my taste buds to do it. I'm still eating well, and I'm still enjoying my favorite foods. I just had to get a little creative and make some changes to my shopping habits. So, if you're struggling to make ends meet, and you're looking for ways to cut back on your expenses, I encourage you to try the 50/30/20 rule. It's not always easy, but it's worth it in the end. Now, I want to ask you, what's your biggest expense when it comes to groceries? Is it meat, dairy, or something else? Drop your answer in the comments below, and let's start a conversation. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. And if you know someone who's struggling to make ends meet, send them this video. They might just find the help they need to get their finances back on track. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. In the next video, I'll be sharing my favorite meal planning tips and tricks, so be sure to stay tuned for that. It's called 5 Meal Planning Hacks to Save You Time and Money. Don't miss it. I'd like to dive deeper into the specifics of how I applied the 50/30/20 rule to my grocery shopping. For instance, I started by allocating 10% of my income towards groceries, which worked out to around $430 a month. However, as I mentioned earlier, I was able to save around $130 a month by meal planning, shopping smart, and using cashback apps. This meant that I was actually spending around $300 a month on groceries, which is a significant reduction from my original $943 a month. One of the key strategies I used to achieve this reduction was to focus on buying seasonal produce. By doing so, I was able to save around 20% on my fruit and vegetable purchases. For example, during the summer months, I would buy fresh berries and corn in bulk, which would cost me around $1.50 a pound. In contrast, buying out-of-season produce would cost me around $3.50 a pound. By making this simple switch, I was able to save around $50 a month on my produce purchases. Another strategy one used was to plan my meals around what was on sale at the grocery store. I would check the weekly ads for my local stores and plan my meals accordingly. For instance, if chicken was on sale for $1.99 a pound, I would plan to make chicken-based meals for the week. This approach allowed me to save around 15% on my meat purchases. I also started buying store-brand products, which were often significantly cheaper than name-brand products. For example, I would buy store-brand pasta sauce for $1.50 a jar, compared to $3.50 a jar for the name-brand equivalent. In addition to these strategies, I also made a conscious effort to reduce my food waste. I started by planning my meals and making a grocery list, which helped me avoid buying too much food that would go to waste. I also began using up leftovers in creative ways, such as turning last night's dinner into tomorrow's lunch. By making these simple changes, I was able to reduce my food waste by around 30%, which not only saved me money but also helped reduce my environmental impact. I'd also like to share some specific examples of how I applied the 50/30/20 rule to my grocery shopping. For instance, I started by tracking my expenses for a month to see where my money was going. I discovered that I was spending around $200 a month on dining out, which was a significant portion of my overall grocery budget. By cutting back on dining out and cooking at home more often, I was able to save around $100 a month. I also started using cashback apps, which gave me around 5% cashback on my grocery purchases. This may not seem like a lot, but it added up over time, and I was able to earn around $20 a month in cashback rewards. Another strategy one used was to buy in bulk, but only for non-perishable items. I would buy items like rice, pasta, and canned goods in bulk, which would save me around 10% on my overall grocery bill. However, I made sure to only buy what I could realistically use before the expiration date, which helped me avoid waste and save money. By applying these strategies and making a few simple changes to my shopping habits, I was able to reduce my grocery bill by over 60% and save around $5,400 a year. It's worth noting that everyone's situation is different, and what worked for me may not work for everyone. However, by applying the principles of the 50/30/20 rule and making a few simple changes to your shopping habits, you can potentially save thousands of dollars a year on your groceries. For example, if you're someone who spends around $1,000 a month on groceries, you could potentially save around $600 a month by applying these strategies. That's a significant amount of money that could be put towards other expenses, such as rent or mortgage payments, or even saved for the future. I'd also like to share some additional tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. For instance, I've found that shopping at local farmers markets can be a great way to save money on produce. Many farmers markets offer discounts for bulk purchases, and you can often find fresh, high-quality produce at a lower cost than what you'd find at a traditional grocery store. I've also started using a price book to track the prices of my favorite items at different stores. This helps me ensure that I'm getting the best deal possible, and I can often find significant savings by shopping at different stores. By applying these strategies and making a few simple changes to your shopping habits, you can potentially save thousands of dollars a year on your groceries. It's not always easy, but it's worth it in the end. Whether you're looking to save money, reduce your environmental impact, or simply eat healthier, there are many benefits to applying the principles of the 50/30/20 rule to your grocery shopping. By taking a closer look at your spending habits and making a few simple changes, you can achieve significant savings and improve your overall financial well-being.